Hey guys, I'm Chef T-Max. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today, a chicken soup. Everybody loves a good chicken soup, and I'm going to show you how to make the basis of a great one today, and you're going to be able to do a lot of different things with this. So stay with me. Click subscribe if you're not doing that already. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and ring that bell, and I'll send you cool things I have coming up. So I'll see you back in a second with chicken soup. Hey guys, okay, today is super simple chicken soup. I want to show you guys how this goes. So I've got a big pot of water in here, right? And I'm going to take, with this chicken soup, I love to start and make this with a great broth. So you can do a million different things with this. So I have some rosemary in my garden. I'm just going to throw that in there whole. I don't even chop it. I just throw, like a bunch of strands in there. I always say if you are in an area where you can grow rosemary, and it can handle a lot of temperatures, but it just grows like a bush. You never have to really worry about taking care of it. As long as it gets a little bit of water, you'll always have it out there. And then you always have this great herb to work with when it comes to meats. And it's really nice with bread and garlic. It's great flavoring. So with this, I'm basically putting all this stuff in there whole. So I've got some celery in here. I'm just going to take the top of the celery and cut it off. Now I've already washed the celery. The rest of the celery I'm going to use later on in the soup. But I just drop it in there. You can see that I don't even really cut it because this soup takes so long to cook. I'm going to take an onion, half of an onion here, and I'm just going to chop down it like this and put it in, right? I don't cut it small. I've got carrot. With the carrot, I'm just going to take it and cut it in half like this. Put that in. I've got about, I guess, 4 or 5 bay leaves. So just drop those in there like that. Okay. And I'm going to put a tablespoon of salt, maybe a little bit more than that, a little bit more than a tablespoon. We don't want to season it too much now because if you salt it too much now, you over salt it. We're going to reduce it down at some point. And if you reduced it down and you had put too much salt in it, then it's going to be too salty, right? So a lot of times people think, oh wow, there's so much liquid, but then by the time it cooks down and we reduce it, there's a lot less liquid. So now the next thing I have is my chicken. I've just got a beautiful whole organic chicken here. I've pulled out the heart and the liver and all that's in the side. And then all I do is I take and drop this in whole. Isn't this easy, you guys? It's just everything is whole, sits in there. Now, from here, all I'm going to do is put this on the stove, bring it to a boil, and then as soon as it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn it down to a simmer, and I'm going to cook it for 1 hour, okay, at a simmer, uncovered like this, okay? So bring this to a boil, turn it down to just a nice soft simmer, put a timer on for 1 hour. After 1 hour, I'm going to show you what it looks like, so I'll see you back in an hour. Guys, while that chicken soup comes to a boil and gets that ready, I'm going to get some veg ready for it. Now, I like to put carrot in there. So I've washed these carrots. I'm just going to cut them in half because they're pretty small. Actually, just cut them in half so they don't roll around while I'm trying to cut them up. So if this is going to be we're going to make a nice wild rice chicken soup this time. So the carrots, I don't want them to be gigantic, but they don't need to be tiny either. So with that, I just line them all up like that. You see how I line them all up in their halves? And I'm just going to go through like this and chop, right? So you guys can see how that works. So just chop them, let them roll around like this, right? And then I'm done. Those will all go kind of in my, those will all go in this container here. And this will be to saute later with the wild rice, okay? And then we're gonna add our chicken soup to that, okay? So with this, I don't need a lot of celery. I would say probably 4 stalks like this is gonna be good. So I'll cut those in half as well. We don't want huge chunks of vegetables in there, but we do want to have them be big enough where after we cook them, the vegetables don't totally disappear to nothing. That's why we kind of use whole pieces when we're cooking the soup, because that soup is going to cook for a fairly long time. it's going to simmer for an hour and we take the chicken out. But then what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the meat off the chicken because that's already cooked. We're going to peel that off and then we'll dice that to add back in when we're going to eat the soup. But the stock itself, that's going to cook for a long time. So here we're going to put this in like this. Any bits of scrap like this, you can throw this in that in your chicken stock too while it's working on boiling. So this, I'm just going to dice it down. I slice straight down. Then I'm going to come horizontally. You guys have seen me cut an onion before if you've watched me before. If not, then that's good. You guys will see it for the first time. You basically make the vertical, then horizontal cuts, and then you come back and you shave like this, and you get this really nice looking diced onion. Now, with this too, I'm going to take this kind of end piece here, and I'll just put that in here as well, okay? But I'm going to put the onion in my container too. And then the last thing, obviously with a good chicken soup, you got to have some garlic in it, right? Only makes sense to put garlic in there. All right, so what we're going to do is take our garlic here, and I've got a whole bulb cut. So what I'm going to do is I want to just slice it. So I'm going to slice the garlic down like this, okay, and then slice it down. So I get these really nice slices, okay, and I take the root end of it and keep that towards the inner part of my hand, so I don't have to actually cut the whole thing of garlic. You see how these little pieces here can just sit to the side, and I'll throw those in the stock while we're cooking it. So we don't waste anything, right? So I've got my beautiful chicken here, like this. You guys can see that, right? And then I'm gonna have the rest of these pieces for my soup. I'll just stick that one in the soup too. So those will all go in the soup, all of that. So this celery here, I just put that in the fridge. I can use that for something else. All the scraps of celery I'll put in there. So one of the things you can do to keep celery nice is you can see I have this paper towel. I lay this paper towel out and I'll roll this up in there, and it's nice wet paper towel, and that keeps your celery beautiful inside of your crisper, okay? So that goes in there. This is gonna go in my soup, and this we're gonna saute up as we get the rest of this going. So I'll see you back in a little bit. Okay, we've got our chicken. You can see how beautiful this looks. It's been 1 hour. We're gonna go ahead and kind of get it out of here without kind of messing this up. See how I blow the steam off because it's so hot, right? And I'm gonna go right here with that. So I've got the chicken here, and you can see it's just gonna fall off the bone. It's like so perfectly cooked. This is where you want to take it off. I'm gonna let it cool slightly, and I'm gonna add all the bones back into this broth, okay? This broth has got our whole onions, rosemary, garlic, celery in there, and all of the bones from this will go in there too. And then we'll cook those bones in that broth for another 4 hours, and we're gonna pick this meat off of this chicken. Okay guys, we're back now. I've done is take the chicken out. So we brought it to a boil, right? We took this chicken out after an hour of simmering in there, and then you let it cool just long enough to be able to handle it. And then you wanna put the bones back into the broth and let that cook for another couple hours. I let that simmer for a couple hours. Now, I've let the chicken cool here, and I'm gonna show you how we cut that in a second. But first, let's start the rest of the soup. So the chicken at that point, you have the chicken meat and you have the broth. In a lot of things, a lot of times I make soups, chicken soups especially, like that. I'll just take and dice up the chicken and then keep the chicken separate and then have the broth. And then if you want to make matzo ball soup, you make matzo balls and put it in. If you want to make, soup with noodles, chicken noodle soup, you can do noodles in there. And then you always add the chicken in right before you're about to serve it, just so the chicken warms. You're not looking to cook the chicken, the breast and the thigh. You don't want to overcook them and make them dry. So here, I've got my pan getting really hot, and I want to put some oil in it. And then I'm going to take that garlic that we sliced, and I'm going to put that in there. And I'm looking to basically toast our oil with our garlic. This is what we always do, right? We want to get that flavor in there. And then I'm going to put a little salt in here too to get things going, right? And I'm going to put in pepper. We're going to flavor this oil really nice with pepper and salt and garlic, right? And then we're going to add in our vegetables. So what we're going to do is cook this like this. And I just wanted to get that nice and toasty. Now, while that's toasting, we'll talk about the rice too. I've got some wild rice here. Now, using wild rice in this is going to be a lot nicer because it's really going to give us great flavor. It's going to have a really nice nuttiness to the kernel because it has the actual outer grain of the rice on there too. It's not been crushed open where it's just the white part of the rice that's easy to cook. This actually has the bran of the rice on there too, so it's good flavor and much healthier for us. So while we're toasting our garlic like this, I'm going to toast the rice as well. So I'm going to put in about, I'm going to say, that's a half a cup. Those were a quarter cup pieces that I was putting in there and in my hand. And then what we're going to do is toss that around in here. And with rice in a soup like this, we're not looking to kind of cook the rice and have the rice be certain al dente. No, we want to blow the rice out where it's just barely holding on. And that's why wild rice does really good in soup, is because of the texture of it. Normally when you cook wild rice, you're like, I don't like it, it's chewy, never gets really tender, hard to eat, right? So those things are true. It's healthier for you, but those things are true because of the bran on the outside of the rice kernels. But in a soup like this where we're blowing it out, that bran will help hold on to the rice a little bit as we cook it really hard in this broth. So wild rice is a good one to use with this. So I'm going to toast the rice a little bit with the garlic, get that nuttiness going, and then we're going to add in our onion, celery, and carrot, which we cut earlier. And we're going to saute those up. Okay? So I'm going to let that saute like this. Beautiful flavors of those vegetables and the rice coming together, right? And it doesn't seem like a lot of rice, like that half cup, but it is going to be enough because the rice expands. A lot of times people will put too much rice because it doesn't look like the right amount, but then the rice expands and they realize they put way too much rice. So from here, what we're going to do is work on our chicken. So I've got my chicken here, okay, and I'm just going to cut down the side of it here. And it's still a little bit on the breastbone. I left a little bit of the breastbone on there, and we're just going to pull the meat off like this. You can see me pulling the meat away, right? Now, this meat's cooked perfectly. You can see that, right? Now with this, I want to just dice it like this, okay? And I'm going to dice it back like this. Now you could shred it. Some people shred it. I particularly like it diced. I think shredding it dries it out. So I like to dice it like that. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other side of the breast here on this breastbone, right? And then you can pull off all this meat that's excess on here. There's a little breastbone that's on there. You can see how I pull that all off. There's any fat you want to cut away. You don't want the fat at this point. You do want the fat and the skin in the soup itself because that adds flavor, right, to your dish. But the fat in, like, you know, the chicken meat here is not going to be good. You don't want you don't want to eat soft skin. And there's a piece of skin right there. So I'm going to put that to the side, okay? See how much meat we're getting from that? Now, I have the same thing here with a thigh. I've got some thigh meat here. And I just diced that, any bit of that thigh meat. You're just making sure that there's no bones. And then I cut the thigh meat up small Some people like thigh meat. Some people like, breast meat. The thigh meat's got a lot more flavor and it doesn't get as dry. So with this, we have the bone in here too. So what I want to do is just grab with my fingers, grab the bone and kind of cut around any kind of cartilage like this. Now this is all just pure nice meat like that. There's a little piece of cartilage there. I'm keeping a very close eye. Now I want to make sure I stir this good. Our rice, our vegetables all coming together. Okay, and then I have my last piece of thing, like I said, get rid of, like last piece of thigh, get rid of, like I discussed, the rest there. And then just make sure that there's no bone in this, because you don't want somebody when they're eating the soup to get like a little chunk of bone in there. So with this, all I'm going to do is take that off like there. And now what you do is any bit of this. Now I would have done most of this earlier and got it out of the way. But now any bit of bone like this, we're going to put back in to our soup. Okay? Again, that soup is going to cook for a while. Now I've got excess broth here as well. And I'm just going to take any particles from that and move them out of the way. And I just pour that juice in there. We want that juice to stay in there with the chicken. It'll keep it nice and moist, right? And then we're going to just let that, we'll let that whole mixture there stay like that and refrigerate it until you're going to have your soup. Even if it's a day or two, just want to make sure you refrigerate it really tight. Okay? Now, these vegetables are nice and sauteed and rendered. Okay? I got a little bit of champagne left over from the holidays, so I'm going to put in a little quarter cup of champagne. You can put white wine. You can put no wine. You don't have to put it at all. But adding a little wine to it is nice for deglazing. It's going to give a nice depth of flavor to your soup. It'll give it a little acidity too. And a lot of times the people who don't like to have white wine, they ask what they could do there. And I always tell them, you can put a little bit of vinegar in, like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. That'll give you this acidity flavor that you get from like adding wine as a deglazer like this. So what we do is there's got no alcohol. So if you're worried about alcohol, there's no alcohol in it. All of the alcohol is getting evaporated right now. So it'll be just the flavor. So you don't have to worry about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a strainer and I'm going to show you how we strain the soup on top of this. Okay, so stay with me. Okay, I've got my strainer here and we have our beautiful vegetables already rendering down. I'm just going to put this strainer right in there and I'm going to take my soup and I'm going to just pour that broth right in so you can see how that looks. It's just really nice at this point. Okay, and I just want to keep it like tilted like this so the juice just comes out so gently, right? And that's beautiful, like that. I lift this up. It's got all of any particles from the stock in it, and I'm going to put that away. And then we're going to let this simmer. Now, this is a really light soup. Now you can see that it's going to come down probably by half. So at this point, the soup is going to probably take 30 minutes to cook, I would say. And that's going to really cook the rice. The rice is going to bloom in this. You've got the vegetables, the rice. And then right when it's done, you'll see, we'll add the chicken back. If you want to add any herbs in there, you could do that as well. It'll be amazing. So stay with me. We'll be back in about 30 minutes. Okay, guys, it's been about 30 minutes. And let's take a look at our broth here. You can see the soup is really kind of richened. All the vegetables are fully cooked. The rice is broken down and it's just going to be beautiful right now. And there's really nothing you need to do with it at this point. I'm just going to ladle this in like this. You can see how wonderful this soup looks. Oh, look at that. Brothy and nice. Gorgeous, right? The vegetables are nice and small, fully cooked through and soft. At this point, we just put our diced up chicken back in here. You can put it right in the pot right before you're ready to eat it, and that's it. I mean, like this. so tasty. Beautiful chicken flavor. It's not overly reduced. It's got the beautiful flavor of the vegetables in there and all the aromatics from those mirepoix, the garlic, and just a nice chicken flavor. The rice, the wild rice really gives it a nice flavor that you don't really get when you kind of eat wild rice, because it's just, you're just eating it kind of just cooked. But when you cook it in a broth, the flavor extracts and kind of goes everywhere and gives you more flavor. So I think it's probably one of my favorite places to have wild rice is actually in a chicken soup like this. Now, if you wanted to put a little lemon in it, chop parsley, chop dill, any of those would work, tarragon, whatever you really desire. But I know you're gonna love this. It's super healthy, very flavorful. The greatest thing to have in the wintertime when you're not feeling good. You got some friends and family who are sick. Make this for them and they'll be so happy. So I'll see you back in the kitchen soon. I'm Chef Dean Max.